see you guys in the dark.
I don't have a car. I walk or take buses everywhere that I go. At least 99% of the time. I might get the usual bus creeper, or that guy who did some meth before he got on the bus and spent the trip giggling to himself and flinching about. But no big deal. We all run into that type of person. It is public transportation after all. The other day I had run out of food and needed to go to the grocery store. I had been trying to put this off as we've had days where it's 100 degrees outside, and walking any length of time or waiting for a bus is hell. But since my only other choice was starve, I had to grin and bear it. It's just the store and back. It's not a long trip. You'll be back before it even gets too warm. Since it was so hot, I wanted to treat myself to a reward for actually getting out of the house and doing this trip. So I bought 5 donuts for myself. I put them at the top of my bag so that they wouldn't get smashed on the way home. After all, I am walking. Then getting onto the bus. Then walking yet again. As I'm walking towards the bus, I see a man and a woman lying in the grass next to the bus stop in the shade. I think nothing much of it at first. After all, it is a hot day. And I planned to be in the shade too. I'd carefully planned to not start walking to the bus until just a few minutes before it came as well, so I would have the least amount of time in the heat as possible. But it seemed to me like this couple had been there for quite a while. As I approached, I stopped a good distance from the couple, probably about 15 to 20 feet away, simply because I'm not interested in interacting with anyone. It's too hot, and I just want to do my thing and go home without getting bothered. 90% of the time, most of my fellow bus riders follow this unspoken rule, and we all occupy the same public space, but keep to our own personal bubbles. I'm also wearing earbuds, as the universal symbol of leave me alone. I put my bag down by another tree in the shade, and I see movement out of the corner of my eye, and I see the couple struggling to their feet and looking directly at me. Don't let them come over. Don't have them come over, please. So naturally, what ends up happening? They come over. The man stops about 5 feet or so away, and the woman comes right up to me, barely a foot away from me. Now, I'm also deaf, so when she says something to me, I don't know what it is. So I said, I'm deaf. Please say again. She mimes smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, no, I don't smoke at all. She looks at me, confused, and mimes a cigarette yet again, and her lips clearly say, give me. I don't have cigarettes, I tell her. She points at my bag and says, give me a donut then. I tell her no. She remarks something about how it's just one, and I can give her just one. No, I say yet again. She says something about how it's hot, and since I don't have cigarettes, I can just give her one. I tell her that while it is hot, I can walk my ass to the store to get a donut. So can you. Then she points to my necklace and says that if I can't have a donut, give me your necklace. Her face looks very angry now as she points. I take a step back. Why, I demand. She says something too fast for me to catch, but then says something like, you have to give me something. I tell her I don't have to give you anything. You don't just walk up to people and demand things from them. Now go away. Thankfully, at least she did at this point. She turned to her boyfriend and said something, but as she was facing him and away from me, I don't know what she had said. She looks at me and then turns back to where she had her things in the shade. I silently pray again. Please don't let this bus be late. Where is the bus? Come on. I hope they're not on my bus. Dear God. What if they get on my bus and then follow me home? I do carry pepper spray and a taser with me, but since it was hot and I'm wearing a skirt today, I didn't have them in my pockets. Since I don't have any, and now they're at the bottom of my grocery bag. So I crouch down, and I'm resorting my groceries and digging through, trying to find these weapons. I have the sun and trees at one side of me, so I can see a shadow right behind me, and I stand up, turn around. There's the man right behind me, trying to creep closer. He freezes when I stand up, and I'm clutching my water bottle like it's a thick glass in my hand, and he looks at it, looks at my face. I glare directly at him, keeping my bag between the trees and me in case the woman is going to come up from another side. A quick glance sees that she is on the other side, though what exactly she's doing, I'm not quite sure. Thought I told you to go away, I said to them, and then gestured. The man goes back to his little area that he's got his gear in with his lady. I turn and crouch back, this time where I can see both of them, and they're whispering to each other. I guess they didn't get the memo that I'm deaf, because they would have shouted their creepy plan, and I still wouldn't have any idea. I got my weapons back out of my bag, and have the mace directly in my hand. I put my taser on top of my groceries. I pick that back up, and I text a friend what is happening just in case I get robbed or hurt where I am. What's going on, all that stuff. In the time that it takes me to do that, I look up, and I notice that the woman has vanished. I reposition myself to the same angle as before, with my back to the street, so that I can see someone coming from almost all sides. And so the sun will cast a shadow on the side that I can't see. Sure enough, I notice in the shadows that the woman is trying to come up behind me again. I see in the shade she's got something in her hand, club or maybe a small bat. I don't know what. I turned around to her, and she moved her hand behind her back, so that I never got a good look. But I yelled at her that I am armed and I will defend myself if you try again. She got a little wide-eyed and went back to her boyfriend. I know it sounds a little weird, but I was actually quite frightened. They tried to get behind me twice, and I don't know if their intentions were just to rob me or worse. And for donuts, no less. Walk your asses over to the damn store and buy them yourselves. The bus came a minute later, and thank God that it did. I got on and happily sat down only to realize, oh no, the couple was getting on the bus as well. Sweet Jesus, they are following me. I acted like nothing was wrong when they sat across from me. But as soon as the bus lurched away from the curb, I got up in a flash and moved several feet back so that I could watch them. I guess the story, unfortunately, ends anticlimactically from here. I worked myself up into a fury on the trip home, thinking that they're following me, waiting for another chance to rob me or whatever else they planned. Luckily, my stop is second to the end of the line. I don't know if they were that committed to carrying out this plan, as it's a bit of a ride. They did get out several stops before mine, and I could finally relax. I've never seen them since, and I really don't want to. Honestly, because of this incident, I am seriously considering buying a car, where I haven't had one in 10 plus years. That's just how much it has rattled me. Due to COVID, I have moved all my students to remote lessons and no longer meet them in person. I sent an email to my clients, give them my Skype, and also the code to my virtual classroom. I have a neighbor who knows of my students and come to my house as I have a classroom set up, and she calls me out of the blue. Hey, since schools are closing, could you teach my kids during the day? I don't want them to fall behind. One's in primary aged, and one is secondary. Sure, we can set up remote lessons, and we can do an hour a day if you want. I'm doing discounted rates, so it shouldn't cost too much. I want them to go to your house since you have the space, and I was hoping that you could do a full day, like you were at school, Monday to Friday. They're well behaved, and you wouldn't need to do much. No, all lessons are remote and not in person for the foreseeable future. Also, I have other students and work, so I can't do a full day. An hour a day is the most that I can offer you. But if they stay home, I have to stay as well. I have things to do. Okay. I had to hold back my sarcasm since, we're supposed to stay home. Why should I pay you to teach them from a computer? If it's remote, it should be free. It is still my time, but I'm offering discounts since it is remote. Fine. How about you come to my house instead? No, once more. All lessons will be remote for the foreseeable future. Forget it. I'll get someone else to do it. She hung up, and luckily I haven't heard from her since. But it baffles me that she thought that I would happily take random kids into my house, expose myself and my family, and then babysit them for free. Although she may find some gullible uni student to do it, but I doubt it since most people are practicing social distancing right now. Since there is a shortage of coronavirus tests where I live, only people who show very strong symptoms or who are high-risk groups are allowed to get tested. So this woman and her child, who is around 10 years old, enter the hospital, which is already really crowded and chaotic since the crisis, and loudly demands to the receptionist that she wants a test. Since she wasn't coughing, didn't have a fever, and neither did her son, and both of them appeared to be pretty healthy. The receptionist declined her demand and told her that they can only test those who are really sick and are in high-risk groups, which they weren't. This apparently made her very angry. She began loudly yelling that she demands that her and her son get tested. When the demand was denied yet again, she climbed on top of the receptionist's desk, started yelling again that she and her son needed to be tested. When the receptionist got her off the desk, she then started fake coughing right in her face and around the hall. Then she threatened that if she and her son didn't get tested, she would go to the extensive care unit to cough on and infect the patients. Thankfully, at that point, security arrived and forced her out of the hospital. The police got called just in case she would return, which she thankfully didn't. Since she was a regular at that hospital, they would give the police her personal information just in case she would do the same at another hospital. When I was about 25 or so, my boyfriend and I decided to live apart. We were broken up for a very short while, and when we got back together, we just kept separate places for a long time. My apartment was pretty amazing for a young, single woman who was supporting herself. Although it was a one-bedroom, it did have a separate office and dining room as well. Each room was a separate room with its own door. However, the layout was a little strange, except for the bathroom. The rooms didn't branch off of a hallway. Instead, you went through each room separately to get through the place, and my bedroom was right at the end. When you entered the apartment, the room went as follows. Living room to the office. Then you either turned right to a small hallway that led to the bedroom, or you went straight ahead and went into the kitchen, then turned right to go into the dining room, and then the bedroom. The best feature of my apartment was accessible from the kitchen. The back door opened up onto a large, covered balcony. The place was large. It was pretty cheap. I was paying about $450 monthly, and all utilities were paid as well. I even got free basic cable. The landlord was a rare find. They were elderly and sweet, quickly took care of issues that came up when needed. All except for one exception. That back door had no lock on it. Now it's actually mostly my fault that I didn't make it a priority to get it fixed. I really thought that I was pretty safe because the balcony had no steps leading down or anything, and the wall was sheer. The balcony was high up enough that a standard ladder would not reach, so if someone tried to enter, they would have to be extremely determined. Now, my decorating tastes are a little boho, and I'm fond of stuff that sparkles and shines. My apartment reflects my taste. It was decorated with fairies, crystals, and butterflies, things like that. I had sun catchers and wind chimes in the appropriate locations. A friend gave me a couple of sets of miniature fairy chimes as a gift, and as they were very small, I decided to hang them on each one of my doors. I enjoyed the slight tinkling sound that made whenever the doors opened and closed. Thank God for my eclectic tastes. I'm sitting in the office, playing some flash time water of a game on my computer, when I hear the chimes on my balcony door. I assumed that I had failed to shut it completely, and the wind had blown it open, so I jumped up to close it again. I come face to face with a skinny, shirtless, sweaty ginger dude with jailhouse tats all over his chest. He obviously surprised to see me. I'm scared shitless, but I try not to show it. You hear all these stories of people getting severely beaten or killed when interrupting a robbery. I'm surprised that he didn't just knock me over the head with something and then run. Luckily, he didn't. What the fuck are you doing here? The guy kind of laughs and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm here to do some contracting work on your apartment." "How did you get in?" "Is some dude here?" "Who?" "I work for some dude, and he told me that I'd have to climb the porch. He said the back door would be unlocked." I look out, and there's no ladder, rope, or anything to climb on. I'm thinking, who is this dude? Batman? I have no idea who some dude is. And no, there's no work scheduled for this apartment. Also, in case you haven't noticed, this, I gesture towards the balcony, nearly screaming now, is not a fucking porch. As the ginger dude is mumbling again about how he was wired by some dude to do some work, and something about climbing the porch, I realize that he is not steady on his feet. He is also slurring his words a bit. Just great. The guy is under the influence of something, and through his stupid, senseless mumbling, I finally just resort to screaming, "Get out! Get out!" over and over again. He says he feels really bad about scaring me, and before I realized what is happening, he grips me in a smelly, sweaty hug. He goes out the door, and the second that he is gone, I have a full-blown panic attack. I'm bent over, head between my legs, wondering faintly if I should call the police, or someone when I hear a terrific crash from my living room area. As it turns out, the ginger dude had gone into another part of my apartment and climbed into the attic area. As he was poking around, he lost his footing, fallen through the ceiling. I stand in my living room, and I'm looking at the pair of scrawny legs poking through my suspended ceiling. He pulls himself up and, in a high-pitched, smart-ass kind of voice, calls out, "Excuse me." This frustrates me, and being the smart, modern woman that I am, go storming into the attic to confront him. He once again starts giving me his bullshit story about being hired to do work on the place, and I tell him that he is full of shit. He holds his hands up in the appeasing manner and says, Okay, what do you want from me?" I tell him what I want is for you to go downstairs, and I want you to sit on the curb. I want you to wait for the police, because I'm calling them right now. They are coming, and they're taking you to jail. When the police show up, he is sitting obediently on the curb, patiently awaiting his ride to the pokey. Turns out his girlfriend at the time was in the apartment next to me, and he thought that he was breaking into her place. My landlord's got a new lock on that door in short order. But wait, folks, there is definitely more. Eventually, I got called to testify in court against him, along with a number of other people whose homes he apparently invaded. I got approached by a Brittany in a teensy denim shirt, and this is the conversation. "Are you the girl whose apartment Ginger Boy broke into?" "Yeah, I am." "I'm his ex." "Okay." "No, not your neighbor. I'm his baby mama. Are you going to press charges?" "Yes, I am." "Well, I really don't blame you, but I wanted to let you know that he has a 2-year-old and a baby on the way, so you might want to think about that." "Why? He didn't think about it before he did what he did." "He has kids to support. I just think that you should think about it, that's all." "Look, I appreciate your situation, but my situation? I got no situation. He never gave me nothing. He hasn't seen his child in months, yada yada." Maybe you should think about that. As for me, I will be pressing charges." Turns out Ginger Boy had broken into multiple homes, and actually attacked an elderly woman who happened to be home when he broke in. He got 5 years for breaking into my place. Not sure what he got for others. The courthouse took a couple of hours, but I did get a paid day off from work, so that was nice. I have no idea why he didn't attack me like he did the elderly lady. I feel extremely lucky, because usually stories like this don't end so well. It did, however, give me one hell of a story to tell. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.